Um, well, let me just say a little bit, how I got interested in documentary.
Okay.
Um, I I started attending the Sundance Film Festival every year, and I think I started in maybe '04 or '05. Um, and I was involved with this organization called the Windwriter Forum, which is dialogues between people of faith and filmmakers at the Sundance. And so every year we would go on this pilgrimage to Park City, Utah, and watch a bunch of films, and then invite the filmmakers to participate in these dialogues. And for them, it was just part of the press junket, another group that wanted to interview them about their film, so they were happy to do it. But then the conversations were not so much like a typical conversation you get at Sundance, which is like, how did you finance it, and what was it like working with so and so's celebrity or something like that, but more the deeper parts of the artistic, philosophical parts of the work. And so over the years, I noticed that documentary seemed to have the kind of a ritualistic quality. I mentioned the confession aspect, the sense of when a subject would be at the premiere and they would say that this film was like therapy. And I thought, well, it's public, it's totally the opposite of what you do in therapy, which has the client doctor confidentiality. How can that be therapeutic? And what I came to kind of believe was that people just need to process, and they need a listener to process through their life. And even when it's a person who comes and says, I want to hear your story and I'm going to put it out in public, that's enough to trigger this confessional, I don't know what you'd say, like need or something like that. And so they wound up more healthy after the film was over. Like famously, people in early on in documentary history, a documentary done by John Huston about war veterans after World War II had a higher discharge rate from the mental hospital of the people who were documented than the ones who were not. So there was a sense of just being a listener. So I adopted this theory of the documentary should be something that makes the person more well off in some way. Like they should be better off for having gone through the experience. So it's kind of a therapeutic process. Therapeutic, I don't know if that's the right word, but something like that for the filmmaker and also the subject, And so that's kind of the theory that I developed. And just because I saw it every single year at Sundance with filmmaker after filmmaker and subject after subject. And I noticed the difference between exploitative documentary filmmaking and maybe you could say generative documentary filmmaking, And so that's what I teach. I teach as an adjunct at a college down the street here, a little intro to documentary class. And it's for me, it's just kind of a fun experimental thing of like, what can I say to these students and see what they make, And I've been kind of honing it now over the past few years of how to get just an ordinary film student who's not usually interested in documentary. They kind of came to film school for Steven Spielberg or Terrence Malick or something. And now here I am, they're stuck in my documentary class because they're required to take it, and what can I get them to make, And I've been blown away with what they've made using this process of, let's say, generative, respecting your subjects, being genuinely curious about your subjects, and having a question that you approach that you actually have, not what you think people want to see or something like that, but something that is genuinely interesting to you. And if it's interesting to you and you can figure out why, then it'll be interesting to somebody else, And so that's kind of how I teach it.
Well,